which together stand as a beacon of holistic health, preventive care, and harmony between body, mind, and soul. Rooted in tradition, yet relevant to modern healthcare, AYUSH reflects India's timeless commitment to well-being. Hosting AYUSH HAVVA 2026 in the vibrant coastal city of Mangalore adds a special significance, as this land is rich in culture, academic excellence, healing tradition, has long embraced integrative and natural system of medicine. With the legacy of learning, service, and community wellness, Mangalore truly serves as fitting confluence for celebrating the spirit and strength of AYUSH. As the byline of AYUSH HAVVA states, where tradition meets the future of health. Rooted in tradition, guided by science, and dedicated to holistic health. With this short preamble, I start with our scientific session. We are privileged to have amongst us Dr. H.R. Nagendra, who is Sir is a Chancellor at AVPRO University, Bangalore. Sir will be sharing his valuable views on the topic of need for evidence-based research in AYUSH and publication in Index Journal. The session will be chaired by Dr. Vanita Shetty, Principal, Alvaz Yoga and Naturopathy Medical College, Mudbadri. The session will be co-chaired by Dr. Aparna Surendran, Principal, Munyal Institute of Yoga and Naturopathy, Manipal, and co-chaired by Dr. Puneet Raghavendra, Principal, Yenopoya College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Mangalore. I request the dignitaries to kindly take the stage. President, Principal, Sharda Naturopathy College, Mangalore, to please welcome Sir with the sapling. It's a beautiful moment in the history where a student gets an opportunity to become a principal and privilegedly bow to his guru. I request the audience to kindly acknowledge the movement with a clap. I request Nandish sir to florally welcome Dr. Vanita Shetty ma'am and guided nearly 50 PhD scholars, making enduring contribution to yoga, research, education, and therapy. Dr. Nagendra has served numerous national and international leadership roles, including Chancellor and Vice Chancellor of AVPRO, Chairman of the Yoga Certification Board, Ministry of AYUSH, and expert to the World Health Organization, Geneva, amongst many other to go. His contributions have been recognized with numerous national and international honors, including Padma Shri Award conferred by Government of India in 2016. I repeat, Padma Shri Award conferred by Government of India in 2016. So, sir, we are deeply privileged to have you with us today as a speaker. I request the gathering to join me in extending a warm and a respectful welcome to such a privileged dignitaries amongst us.
Namaste Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Tapaharine. With my salutations to Swami Vivekananda, my dear brothers and sisters, first of all, let me congratulate and place on record the wonderful AYUSH HAVVA that is being organized here by the AYUSH HAVVA organizing committee. And I was very happy to see various ways in which the grandeur of AYUSH has been demonstrated in various exhibition hall and other things in the ground floor. So thank you all, Ashaji and the whole team, for making this a wonderful possibility. Thank you. In this session, I would like to share with you the importance of AYUSH system in the modern era of science and technology. About 400 years back, we started a new dimension in the history of the world. Newton and Descartes were the forerunners of this big movement, scientific revolution. They said that we have to bring scientific rigor. We should not just accept everything as it is. It may be there for thousands of years. It may be accepted by millions and crores of people. But we have to bring it into the anvil of test, experimentation. So the scientific methodology was evolved. Today it has grown into such a rigorous discipline that forming a hypothesis, then designing an experiment, conducting the experiment, repeating the experiments in different places by different people, and if you get the same result, then you infer the conclusion. This is the methodology that modern scientific research has been brought forth by Newton and Descartes about 400 years back in the western part of our globe. But when we glance through our ancient literature, yoga, Ayurveda, and AYUSH system, this methodology was used earlier. In Jnana Yoga, it is called Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and Jnana. Shravana is hearing. That's like forming a hypothesis. And then we have Manana, designing the experiment, understanding, cogitating, discussing, and bringing out a method of designing and experimenting. Then Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is experimentation. And this has been put into the anvil of rigorous criticism in huge conferences. We had a great example of Janaka Maharaj organizing huge conferences in which there used to be 10,000 people, 15,000 people, all experts from all fields, from field of yoga, from the field of Ayurveda, in the field of all Vedangas, everything. And the person who is going to propagate, hypothesize and show, he has to answer all the people. And if he doesn't, then the main thesis that he is presenting will not be accepted. This is what we see in the rigorous research journal publications today. I remember when we wanted to publish our research paper on bronchial asthma, yoga for bronchial asthma, 4.5 years follow-up study on an RCT trial. Then we sent it to British Medical Journal, the topmost journal at that time. And immediately came the response, no, it is rejected. Then Dr. Shadaksharappa, who was a top expert, he wrote a strong letter to the editor. Why are you rejecting? Dr. Nagaratna is an MD, MRCP from England. Is she not eligible to publish paper? Is the design wrong? Is the experimentation wrong? Is the follow-up wrong? Send it to the reviewers. Then they had no other go. They sent it to the 3 reviewers. And each reviewer sent 40 to 50 questions criticizing. No? And we have to write 175 pages. At that time there was no mobiles, there were no emails, and we had to type out and then send. Then came about 20 questions. Then we wrote 60 pages and sent, answered them. Then came 5 questions, then ran 15 pages. Finally, 2 questions we answered. The whole process took nearly 1.5 years, Finally, it was published, 1986. And the response was so good. All over the world, they opened up. Yes, yoga now can deal with bronchial asthma. And people all over the world started writing. One single paper, we went global. And University of Colorado asked Dr. Nagaratna, please come. We'll take care of your travel, everything, and you come and present. We want to have collaboration. Our collaboration started at that time, University of California, in M.D. Anderson Cancer Center, in Harvard, in MIT, and many places, UCSF. And this is what we have to do today. So if we can publish the research in the topmost journals, today the topmost journals are Nature, JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association, and NEJM, and the dimensions related to the BMJ and others. So our whole effort in India should be the presentation and publication of research in the topmost journals. And to establish Ayurveda and the Ayush systems in general, we have to publish papers in this. This is the job we took over last 40 years. We have been working on that. We have published nearly 1,500 and odd research papers in all the top and best journals of the world in the field of yoga and its applications to various ailments: asthma, diabetes, hypertension, heart problem, cancer, epilepsy, migraine, many other things. And each of our PhD students have to publish at least 3 research papers. Now we have said, if we can publish in high-end, high impact factor journals, then even 1 will do. So this is how we are pushing. We have nearly 250 PhD students working on various dimensions. Similarly, I want all the Ayush colleges, universities propagating Ayush systems should take up this and publish papers in the best journals of the world. Publishing papers in our own Ayurveda journal or in our own journal, yoga journal, or in magazines is good, okay. But we have to publish in the best journals of the world. That needs very rigorous design and containing that. One thing that has to be done in Ayurveda is to be in tune with our tradition. What is our tradition? How is it different from the Western approach? Most of the Western research takes away the essential component of the drug and try to find out the efficacy with the double-blind studies. I remember about 20 years back, Sandoz started the rigorous research of Ayurveda. They said, let us try something about the Ayurveda research for hypertension. Most of the Ayurveda doctors you know, Sarpagandhi is a very nice thing. And it has been established very nicely for years and decades as its usefulness in hypertension. So what they did was took up the essential components in Sarpagandhi and put them into rigorous double-blind research studies. What they found? No, it doesn't work. It causes more danger and BP is increased by this thing. So they said that Ayurveda is useless for hypertension. I told, you have done a mistake. What is the mistake you have done? Ayurveda doesn't with the essential component of a drug. It looks at the whole drug as a holistic system. When we started our yoga research, people said, what is the intervention you are giving? we have developed what is called the integrated approach of yoga therapy. It consists of asana, breathing practices, meditation, and kriyas, all these things put into a harmonious, holistic system. And they said, you cannot publish this. You find out what is publishable for, what asana is good for asthma, what breathing practice is good for asthma. I told them, you don't understand yoga. Think that this is a tablet. What the tablet contains, you leave it to us. And have the rigorous study. This is what we should do in Ayurveda. Ayurveda works in a very holistic way. All AYUSH systems work in its holistic dimension. If we take up the essential component, probably it will fail. This is the dimension which we have to take. And having taken that, you have to develop the design very rigorous way and conduct the experiment, repeated experiment in different places by different people and show that it will. This is called a multi-centric trial today. So we are in the era of science and technology. So Vivekananda said, combine the best of the West with the best of the East. Best of the West is modern scientific research. Very paragraph. Best of the East is our AYUSH system. As I was telling in the morning, AYUSH system works holistically. It's looked at the human system not merely as a physical body. It deals with the prana, the mind, the emotion, the intellect, and the consciousness behind everything. And we have to look at human system as not merely a physical system, but as a total dimension of the holistic system. 5 layers, 5 bodies, 5 koshas, as it is said, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya koshas. And when you look at all these things and deal with the system, it works. Ayurveda drug work at all these levels. When you take an Ayurveda drug, it is not only that it deals with the symptom, it works at the Prakriti, Vata Pitta Kapha dimension. It works at the mind level. And along with that medicine, we also have the lifestyle, which makes it very holistic. And therefore, we have to look at the entire Ayurveda, the AYUSH system, in a totally different way compared to the Western way of looking at things. Western way of looking at things is the reductionistic approach. It thinks that everything is nothing but body, it is nothing but the physical world. You know. I remember we went on understanding this physical world more and more. We understood that everything is nothing but molecules. Molecules are made of atoms. Atoms are made of neutrons, protons, electrons, fundamental particles. For a long time we thought everything is nothing but these fundamental particles. Then came the bigger revelation. What are they made out of? They are all made of packets of energy called quarks. Therefore, we understood that everything in the physical world is made out of energy. What is the energy made out of? Energy field, electromagnetic field. No? All of you know the VIBGYOR is the light spectrum. No? Violet, indigo, blue, yellow, orange, red. If you go to this side, you have got infrared, then that is the heat energy, then radio waves and fields. On this side, if you go to other things, higher frequencies, you go into ultraviolet, X-rays, cosmic rays, and it will become matter. This is the whole understanding of the classical physics. Everything made of the electromagnetic field. Then came the higher evolution, quantum field. In the quantum mechanics, it doesn't follow the laws of Newton. Newton's laws of motion. According to Newton, everything in the physical world is fixed. It is determined. For example, if you leave a stone, 1 second it comes down by 32 feet. If I launch a rocket, you can trace the entire trajectory every millisecond. No, there is no ambiguity, mathematically precise. But when you go to extremely high speed, like an electron spinning around the nucleus, this determinacy collapses. You have to go to the higher laws. What are the laws? Quantum physics. What is the difference? If I leave an electron can come down, it can go up. It can go to the front, to the back, to the left and the right. In fact, an electron develops like a globe. So you cannot say where will be the electron after 1 second if you leave here. It can be here, it can be here, it can be there, it can be far away. Therefore, you can only talk about the probability of finding the electron here is 1%. Probability of finding the electron far away there is 0.1%. Probability can be tracked. For that, the equation is called Schrodinger equation, probability function. Therefore, when you go to the subtler and subtle dimension, the determinacy collapses. A sort of flexibility comes into the thing. Probability comes. And therefore, when you go to the subtler regions, the reductionistic approach that everything is determined will not work. You have to go into the higher dimension. All that our people had understood thousands and thousands of years back. And they made this as a way as to how we have to look at the human system. To think that human system is only the physical body, deal only with the symptom, is the reductionistic approach. It is very gross. It works when you have infectious, contagious diseases, when you have the disease that's related only to the physical thing. So you have an accident, you broke your bone, you can correct it. You can have the surgery. 5,000 types of surgeries have been evolved. And very powerful pharmacological interventions have been developed. Fine, very good, very useful. Therefore, we are not neglecting the modern medical system. So Vivekananda is very clear. Don't neglect the West, but combine the best of the West with the best of the East. Unfortunately, the Eastern wisdom we had thrown away. We thought everything can be done with West. But the Western world is realizing now that no, the Western approach, the allopathic system or reductionistic approach is only limited. The best of the Nobel laureates have started looking at things which are beyond quantum physics. We have close relation to Professor Josephson, youngest Nobel laureate. He got Nobel Prize at the age of 29 for unraveling the Josephson function. Now the recent Nobel Prize winners have taken it further into the higher level. Wherever he goes, he talks about beyond quantum physics. In his house there are books which are on asana, yoga, Sanskrit, Vedas, Upanishads, Vedangas, everything loaded in his house in the library. And he goes on studying them, practicing. He came to India. He was in the Institute of Science. And then what he was doing? He was studying Upanishads. He was practicing meditation, pranayama, yogasanas. I asked why. He said, this is the one that gives me lead to go beyond the quantum physics. So this is what's happening around the world. So the medical world have started recognizing. They want to incorporate the AYUSH system. But they want the AYUSH system should be brought into scientific research level. They want that AYUSH system should be published in the best of the journals. Many people think that we cannot publish paper, but we have shown in the field of yoga we can publish. More than 1,400 research papers we have published. For that you have to follow the rigors of scientific research. All our students are trained and taught that scientific research methodology, how it has to be done. So I want that all AYUSH hospitals, AYUSH medical colleges should bring about this scientific research to be incorporated, and our students should learn. Today I see our students are very brilliant, very creative, very wonderful. I get thrilled about them. So congratulations to all the students who have joined AYUSH, but they have to be guided. They have to know the rigors of scientific research, making a hypothesis, designing an experiment, conducting research, experimentation, multi-centric trials, and get at the inference. The methodology has to be done. They should be taught very rigorous statistical ways to assess the changes, pre-post study, randomized controlled trial, double-blind studies. All these things have to be understood, have to be taught. And if you do that, then AYUSH system is going to grow. Therefore, Ministry of AYUSH has been trying to bring about this research methodology in its rigor by giving workshops. I invite all those colleges to come over, and we'll be very happy to join hands and bring these students to learn the rigorous research methodology by research workshops. That is the order of the day. Why? We're in the era of science and technology. Why Ayurveda is not recognized in the United States? How many research papers are published in the best journals? They asked this question. I was in the WHO meeting. I was asking them, why are you not recognizing Ayurveda? Because it's thousands of years old. India has produced lakhs and lakhs of people who have undergone this thing. Why we should not recognize? I said, where is the scientific research? We're in the era of science and technology. Same thing they asked for Chinese medicine also. So China started this research many, many years back, 8 decades back. They published papers and it got accepted, Chinese medicine. Similarly, it is our job in the AYUSH medical colleges, AYUSH research institutions to rigorously conduct experiments about the usefulness of our medical system. Therefore, we have to develop this research methodology, and I've been asked to share with you some of these things that we have had, and we are continuing to do that research. We are the best research lab in the country, where we can measure everything about the physical body as modern research labs do. We can measure what is happening in the body, taking the blood test, what is happening in the brain, electroencephalography, EEG, sleep research, and fMRI, FNIRS, all these things you can see what is happening in the brain. Then atomic parameters, endocrine parameters, everything you can measure. What is happening to chemical things. Everything we can measure. That's not, that many institutions all over here also, all over the world have. But we can measure what is happening in the pranamaya kosha. Here I saw Nadi Tarangidi as one of the ways to check the Vata Pitta Kapha. Rigors have to be done. It has to be established with proper coordination. So we have the BioWell, which can actually bring about the entire pranamaya kosha picture and tell you where is the imbalance in the prana, which organ, how much is the imbalance. You can measure. I may be healthy, I may not have any disease, but there are imbalances already in the pranamaya kosha. That can be tracked, and you have to correct that. So what are those imbalances which are there which causes cancer? What are those imbalances which cause heart problems? What are those imbalances in which organs which can bring about a lot of diabetes? All these things are being coordinated now to take large amount of data on biowell and has to be done. Similarly, Nadi Tarangani also has to be done. Earlier our ancient masters just used to put the things here, find out what all problems you have. Unfortunately, such experts are hardly available. Now to bring it to the large number of people, we have to use scientific instrument. Nadi Tarangani one such. Similar things are coming up. So there should be innovation to bring this. And we must have rigorous coordination. So, Pranamaya Kosha we can measure. Then Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. We need measurements. For that we have the equipment. We can measure all these things in our lab. This is what we have to do in this thing, and new ways of diagnosis has to be brought forth. Can you bring about new ways of diagnosis of cancer? Can you diagnose cancer 10 years back? We have all that knowledge in Ayurveda, in our medical astrology. You can actually find out what are the things. But people believe that medical astrology is mumbo jumbo. It has no rigors, there is no scientific thing. We have to re-establish. We have started taking up that research to establish the efficacy of medical astrology. And I know there are experts in medical astrology who have done their research. They say, but knowing this thing, 20 years before, you can recognize cancer. Similarly, you can recognize cancer in Pranamaya Kosha by this rigorous research, even 15 years, 20 years back. So these are the new dimensions, breakthroughs that had to be done. All this knowledge is available. Our AYUSH system having 18, 20, 25, large number of shastras. Varahamihira was the greatest of the seers. Like Patanjali, who brought three main things: yoga, Ayurveda, and Vyakarana, grammar. Yogena chittasya, padena vacham, malam sharirasya. Similarly, Varahamihira was the person who was expert in astronomy, astrology, and mathematics. Huge Bruhat Samhita is written. 15 books he has written. Such ocean of knowledge, mind-boggling. But we never looked at it. Because our entire education system was essentially Western mold. We thought there is nothing in India. We had to adopt everything in the West. Western mold set came to us. So it is time that we have to bring over this knowledge base. People should read. Thanks to AI today, all these things are available. Any book that you want is all available. Recently we have a big team in which we have the platform. Whatever book you want, you can get it through the platform that we have developed. AYUSH AI system. So you can study them, find out what are things that you want, and see that it grows. So very good time has come, thanks to development of technology, development of artificial intelligence, and other dimensions which can bring out tremendous amount of knowledge base that we have. And we must use that and see that we start the research and bring research publications in Ayurveda and the AYUSH systems in general to be published in the best of the journals. So it will be accepted by the world at large. Then we move from our present era of science and technology, which is essentially a reductionistic approach, to holistic approach. Sanatana Dharma is the ancient science. I call it as the holistic science. That's what yoga offers. With that, once again, I congratulate the organizers of this wonderful AYUSH HAVVA and the research dimensions that have been brought forth in these sessions. Dhanyavad. Thank you. Namaskar.
Sir, for the lovely insight and for motivating the gathering and to me myself per se for research, publication, and publication that too in authentic journals for making Ayush a global acceptance. Thank you for making us believe more than best to west to best to east. Thank you so much, sir, for the insightful session. Now, we wish to play a video asked by sir. So, technical team will help us. Publication in index journals. A big round of applause gatherings. It's a moment of pride for AYUSH HAVVA 2026 to have a Padma Shri awardee amongst us to share his experience. Thank you, sirs. I request Sajid sir to kindly do the honors of presenting memento to our chairperson for today's session, Dr. Vanita Shetty. Dr. Sajid sir to present memento to Dr. Vanita Shetty, Chairman for the session. I request Sajid sir to present memento to Dr. Aparna Surendra, Principal Munyal Institute, to present a memento. I request Sajid sir to kindly present a memento to Dr. Puneet Raghavendra, Principal Yenapoya College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences. Thank you to Dr. H.R. Nagendra. Thank you, Dr. Vanita Shetty. Thank you, Dr. Aparna Surendran. And thank you, Dr. Puneet Raghavendra, for joining us this evening. Thank you, sir.
ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬ 2026 ಸಮಿತಿಯ ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ನೆರವೇರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯ ಸಚಿವರು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಉದ್ದೇಶಿಸಿ 2 ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಆಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ವಿನಂತಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ.
ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬವನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನ ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಕನ್ನಡ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಯುರ್ವೇದ, ಯುನಾನಿ, ಸಿದ್ಧ, ಹೋಮಿಯೋಪತಿ, ನ್ಯಾಚುರೋಪತಿ, ಯೋಗ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ, ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೋಬೋದು, ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಅದರಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದೇ ಸ್ಥಳದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬವನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂಥ ನೇತೃತ್ವವನ್ನು ವಹಿಸಿರುವಂಥವರು ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯ ಆಶಾ ರಾಯ್ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತು ಸಚಿನ್ ಅವರು, ಕೇಶವ್ ಅವರು, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕೇಶವ್, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಚಿನ್, ನೀವು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಶಾ ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಇವರ ಒಂದು ನೇತೃತ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಸಾಧನೆಯ ಒಂದು ಇಚ್ಛಾಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ಇದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಮತ್ತು ಬಹಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಥಮವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು. ಇವತ್ತು ಐವನ್ ಡಿಸೋಜ ಅವರು, ನಮ್ಮ ಮೆಸ್ಕಾಂ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಹರೀಶ್ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತು ಪದ್ಮರಾಜ್ ಅವರು, ನಮ್ಮ ಶಶಿಧರ್ ಅವರು, ವಿನಯರಾಜ್ ಅವರು, ಅನಿಲ್ ಅವರು, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ನು ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ನೋಡೋದು ನಾವು ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಅಲ್ಪ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲೇ ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಕೂಡ ಆಯಿತು. ನನಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮೊದಲಿನ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಸಚಿವನಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಆಯುಷ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆಯೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವಾಗ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ರಮೋಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಈ ಪಂಚಕರ್ಮ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ವೆಲ್ನೆಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಲಾಖೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಗೊಂಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಈ ವರ್ಷ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂಥ ಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ತೊಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅದು ಈಗಲೇ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಆಯುರ್ವೇದದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಆ ವೆಲ್ನೆಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಆಯುರ್ವೇದ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಏನು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕ ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂಥ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಗೊಂಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಯೋಜನೆಗಳು ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಇದನ್ನು ಬೆಳೆಸಬೇಕು, ಇದನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತು ಇದು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಅಗತ್ಯತೆ. ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಜನ್ರೇಷನ್ಗಂತೂ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಪ್ರಯೋಜನಗಳಿದೆ, ಇದರಿಂದ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ದೈಹಿಕವಾದಂಥ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಮಾನಸಿಕವಾದಂಥ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಎರಡಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದು ಆಯುಷಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುವಂಥ ಏನು ಪರಿಹಾರಗಳು ಅದು ಅಲೋಪತಿಲಿ ಸಿಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಲೋಪತಿ ನಾನೇನು ಅದು ಅಗತ್ಯತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು. ಅಲೋಪತಿ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಮೆಡಿಸಿನಲ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಇರಲೇಬೇಕು. ಅನೇಕ ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಅಲೋಪತಿ ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳೇಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಕೆಲವು ವಿಚಾರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಿವೆಂಟಿವ್ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ರೋಗವನ್ನು ನಿಯಂತ್ರಣ ಮಾಡೋದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ರೋಗವನ್ನು ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟುವುದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹುಶಃ ಅದು ಅಲೋಪತಿಗಿಂತ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಆಯುಷ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಇದು ಪ್ರಚಾರ ಆಗಲಿ, ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಡೀಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಇದರ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಇವತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಪ್ರಯೋಜನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬ ಒಂದು ಕಾರಣ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಂತ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿ ನನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
We extend our heartfelt thanks to the Minister of Health, the District in Charge Minister, Shri Dinesh Gundu Rao, for having graced the function in spite of his very, very busy schedule. Thank you so much, sir. And I would also love to thank all the dignitaries on the days. Thank you for being here. It is a wonderful encouragement for all of us. And yes, I have to mention our MLC, Ivan D'Souza. He has been instrumental in getting the bishop as a guest for today's morning program. Thank you, Anna.
ಆಯುಷ್ ಎಂಬ ವೃಕ್ಷವು ಹಲವು ಕೊಂಬೆಗಳುಳ್ಳ ವೃಕ್ಷ. ಆಯುರ್ವೇದ, ಯೋಗ, ಯುನಾನಿ, ಸಿದ್ಧ, ಹೋಮಿಯೋಪತಿ ಎಂಬ ಹಲವು ಕೊಂಬೆಗಳುಳ್ಳ ವೃಕ್ಷವು ಹೆಮ್ಮರವಾಗಿ ಬೆಳೆಯಲಿ ಎಂಬ ದ್ಯೋತಕವಾಗಿ ಔಷಧೀಯ ಸಸ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬಕ್ಕೆ ಶುಭವನ್ನು ಹಾರೈಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅತಿಥಿ ಗಣ್ಯರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯ ಸಚಿವರು ಇವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ಮರಣಿಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
So we have amongst us Dr. Raghavendra Rao, Senior Principal Scientist, Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning and Healthcare Data Science, the Himalaya Drug Company, Bangalore. Sir is going to share his insights with us on the topic of artificial intelligence, machine learning, platforms and technologies for healthcare research. To chair the session, we have Dr. Satyanarayan Bhatt, Principal, Munyal Institute of Ayurvedic Medical Sciences and Hospital, Manipal, and to co-chair Dr. Sajit Mangalsiri, Principal, Karnataka Ayurveda Medical College and Hospital. I request to dignitaries, speaker, chairperson and the co-chairperson to accommodate the stage. Introduce our distinguished speaker for scientific session, Dr. Raghavendra P. Rao. Dr. Rao is a senior principal scientist and associate journal manager in the Discovery Science Group at the Himalaya Wellness Company, and an accomplished biochemist and a molecular biologist with over 20 years of postdoctoral experience in drug discovery and life science research. His scientific expertise spans natural product research, nutraceuticals, and personal care product development, molecular and cell-based assay systems, in vivo pharmacology, and advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning-enabled discovery platforms. Dr. Rao has made significant contribution to translational research, having been instrumental in the development of more than 100 wellness and personal care products. I repeat, audience, 100 wellness and personal care products, several of which have successfully progressed to commercialization. He has also led establishment of state-of-the-art in vitro, in vivo and in silico research platform, strengthening data-driven discovery and innovation. I repeat, state-of-the-art in vitro, in vivo and in silico research platforms. He has earned his PhD in biochemistry from the University of Mysore and pursued advanced research as a postdoctoral fellow at National Cancer Institute, NIH, USA. Dr. Rao has published in leading international journals, including PNAS and a Journal of Cell Biology. Sir is a recipient of prestigious research award. He is a regularly invited speaker at different national scientific and academic forums. We are privileged to have you, sir, Dr. Raghavendra P. Rao, sir, with us today. And I request all the audience to please welcome sir with a big round of applause. Over to you, sir. We are looking forward to learn from you.
I made this presentation keeping in mind mainly the students from AYUSH background and the people who are working in healthcare sciences. I work for Himalaya Wellness Company. Some of the opinions and views that I might express during the discussions or presentation are those of mine, and Himalaya Wellness Company does not hold responsibility for some of the opinions that I might express here. Since the topic is today artificial intelligence and machine learning and how it is transforming the healthcare sciences, I wanted to give a disclaimer here, which is an honest disclaimer. I have used some smart AI tools to create this presentation, but every slide, every line I write here, I have used my mind. I have not mindlessly used the AI and machine learning tools for making this presentation. So if you like this presentation, you have to thank me. If there is a mistake, you blame it on the artificial intelligence, and then you know where the mistake is. What are we going to talk about today? Knowing fully well that I am addressing people from medical background and people who are working on healthcare sciences, I have made this presentation emphasizing on this community. So, as we all know, AI is a very umbrella term. Everything that you can imagine, it is called as AI these days. It is often misused and overhyped actually. What is actually AI? You catch hold of a person, the first thing that comes to his mind is, okay, ChatGPT. So, are you using AI? Do you know AI? Yeah, I know AI, because every day for making my presentations for my dissertation to cheat my teacher to do assignment, I use ChatGPT, I use artificial intelligence tools. But that's a generative AI, but that's not just everything, ChatGPT is not everything. Machine learning is the real workhorse behind the modern AI, and I have made the presentation in such a way that when you walk out of this talk, I want many of you to come with go with a feeling that machine learning, artificial intelligence is not something that is only for purely mathematics people, purely statisticians, purely computer science people. Being in healthcare, being students, the researchers in this field, everybody can easily do this. AI is actually not a magic, it's a pattern recognition at scale. The models that we talk about learn from data, not from intelligence. The use cases matter more than the buzzwords. Okay, why medical students? How can they? See, medical students already think in terms of data. If you see the clinical data, medical student, and for that matter even biology students, pharmacologists, they think in terms of data. There is a big data available, and then what is more important is when everybody is using AI. Say for example, if you are sitting in front of a chatbot like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Microsoft Copilot, whatever that is, you make one medical student sit in front of it, and a novice who doesn't know anything about that disease, you make him sit in front of it, okay? The way you chat, the way you get the responses, the way you deal with that is completely different. So AI is something that requires the expertise, okay? So domain knowledge is very important. Modern platforms like machine learning are accessible make it accessible without coding also. Now let's get to the crux of it, okay? I'll start building the story from very basics and then go all the way up to some of the applications of these tools in healthcare. I'm sure most of us would have done this experiment even at our, degree levels, when you are doing experiments. You all are familiar with this kind of data. In this particular data, we have taken just plot food consumption versus weight. Food consumption in calories, and you have weight, okay? As you increase the food consumption, let's say there is a linear relation, mostly there is a linear relationship, and the weight increases. To establish the connection between the food consumption calories and the weight, you need a relationship, and this is the relationship between these two. Most of us have done this in the Excel sheet, either for this particular experiment or when you are collecting data, as simple as the area of the floor and the value for the house. These follow this pattern, okay? If anybody has done this, this is a machine learning algorithm called linear regression, okay? So we have already handled this in a simple situation like this. When we try to establish the relationship between a dependent variable and an independent variable, you come up with a relationship between them. In this particular case, when you have food consumption and weight, so the food consumption part is the independent variable, the weight that you have is a dependent variable. You have established the relationship. That relationship is simply, anybody can do this in Excel sheet, right? Y is equal to 0.01x, whatever you... Can I have a pointer? Highlight. It's okay. Yeah, so the relationship that we are talking about between these two parameters, this in this particular case is called a model. When people talk about machine learning models, yeah, there are some complex models where it is... Sure. Okay. In this particular case, I am keeping in mind the use cases that could be relevant for students of AYUSH and medical community, okay? So a relationship that you have established between the weight gain, food consumption and weight gain, this relationship in the form of an equation, this is called a model, Okay? This is one machine learning model which all of us have done. I think most of the students have done this kind of experiment. So you have already handled one machine learning algorithm. Let's come to another case where you have data on n number of patients. I have just taken for representation purposes about 10 patients, their fasting blood glucose and triglyceride levels. When somebody gives this kind of a data, you can simply plot x-axis FBS, y-axis triglycerides. Okay? And what you do with this data, if you just divide them into 4 quadrants, you have 4 classes of patients already here, right? People belonging to this group are low TG, low FBS. People in this group are high FBS, low TG, so on and so forth. And high TG, low FBS, the top corner, right corner is high TG, high FBS. So why is this important? The exercise looks very simple, but as medical students, please pay attention to one thing. People belonging to this quadrant should be treated differently compared to people belonging to this quadrant, right? So this kind of analysis, a simple analysis that we did here. Okay, then let's take another parameter where you have cholesterol. Okay, in this case you divided it to 4 quadrants and you said there are 4 classes of patients depending on FBS and TG levels. Now there is another dimension. Let's add another dimension, which is cholesterol. Okay, this is a third dimension, which is little difficult to visualize, but if you could visualize, you can see, if you imagine this room as a 3-dimensional space and you take fasting blood glucose, triglycerides and the cholesterol and plot people, you take each individual patients and plot them in different points. And you see the patients cluster, so all patients don't belong to one particular cluster. In a 3-dimensional graph, there are in all sorts of places. You all agree with me? So the people belonging to that cluster are physiologically different from people belonging to this class. Especially when we talk about Ayurveda, holistic medicine, say for example you have n number of parameters like this and you take an approach to classify people into different groups. In the previous case, we were trying to predict what could be the possible weight. In this case, we are not trying to predict anything. We have a lot of parameters that we have collected during our research project and we want to see the pattern within this data. We don't have to predict anything. So how many classes of people are there and how do I treat them? This kind of exercise is generally termed as clustering algorithm or classification algorithm, where you don't predict anything, you just classify them. This is just an example of how in 3-dimensional graph, let's say for example, people belonging to this group are physiologically different from people belonging to this group, so on and so forth. There are 4 to 5 classes of patients you can make, right? This is a machine learning algorithm. This is a type of a machine learning algorithm. In the first case, we were trying to predict. They are generally termed as regression type of algorithms, regression and classification. The second one, you are simply trying to classify. The first class where you are trying to predict something by developing an equation, by establishing the relationship between the input and output variable, that is generally termed as, it's a simplified representation, that is a supervised machine learning. And what we have done here is an unsupervised algorithm where you cluster the people depending on their patterns. This slide, wherever I give a talk on this topic, I make sure that I emphasize on this. People, when they talk about machine learning, artificial intelligence, we talk as if everything happened post-corona when we were sitting at home. People developed state-of-the-art tools. Before that, we were very primitive and then we were in the Stone Age. It's not really true. Like, I gave 2 examples, right? Linear regression. Earlier, I have given one example of linear regression where you predict. These are some of the classical algorithms that is routinely used in AI, and these are the machine learning algorithms people generally use. Linear regression is used for prediction. Logistic regression is also used for prediction. Decision tree is to recognize the pattern behind the decision or the outcome variable. and you have classification algorithm like SVM, k-means clustering, and of course neural networks. The much more complex version of this neural network is what operates behind ChatGPT. My point is this. These algorithms were introduced as early as in 1900. For example, linear regression, which we just did, it was as early as in the late 19th century. Logistic regression, logistic function, this was as early as around 1840 to 50, and then decision tree is 1972. These algorithms were already there, and they have been there. Okay? When it comes to biological sciences, the paradox, we have two things. On one hand, we say there is a lack of data, which is true in some cases, but not true anymore, because if you see, if you go to OHDSI database, NIH database, biobank and disease ontology database, you have humongous data. NIH, I'm not sure, I have not visited ICMR, it might be there, a lot of clinical data might be there. This data talk about what therapeutic area it is, test groups, patient demographics, diagnosis, procedures, medical condition, lab measurements, clinical texts, then some of the outcomes, images, everything. This is an image database, you have n number of images. Okay? The question is, if that is the case, we have lot of data and insight is what is lacking. The data paradox is there is a wealth of information, but there is a poverty of insight. Especially for people, students from healthcare and medicine background, there is enormous amount of data sitting. People coming from Ayurveda and these backgrounds, they can really, get a lot out of these databases. Okay? And in this context, what can AI ML do for a clinical case? I have oversimplified this. Say, for example, you have, let's assume from one of these databases, you pull out a data which contains data about the patients or volunteers, whatever, their medical history, genetic data, laboratory results. In fact, places like NIH, it has data on more than, every year they conduct surveys, they have data on more than 50 to 60 blood parameters, more than 30 to 40 demographic questionnaires and all those data. Okay? This is the data. And if you have an outcome variable, like they have some symptoms, there is some biomarker, they have infection status, all this, okay? You have on one hand, you have their characteristics, that means their blood picture, liver function text, SDL, LDL, cholesterol, all that. On the other hand, the disease outcome, whether they developed a disease or not. Let's say you have these two kind of information. How do you connect these two? That is what the machine learning and models do. Okay. In the earlier case, you had the data on food consumption and you wanted to predict the weight. How did you predict the weight? By establishing a mathematical relationship between these two. In this case also similarly, when you have large amount of data on patients, their blood picture, their genetic parameters, and you have disease characteristics, symptoms and all this, a model is something that helps connect between these two. Okay. I'm sure there are many students who are from Ayurveda background here. Plants, phytochemicals are at the heart of, Ayurvedic medicine, right? So even for Ayurvedic medicine, even for phytochemicals, there is a huge database. There are number of databases which contains huge amount of data. You have PubChem, we have coconut database, you have Chembel database. In all these databases, if you see, there is a wealth of information, like for each molecule. When I go to that, you will see what all kinds of data is available. For each given phytochemicals, its Miles code is given, structure is given, molecular weight, log-B, topological parameters, number of hydrogen bond acceptors, number of hydrogen bond donors, number of aromatic rings, drug likeliness, all these parameters are present. Okay? Okay. This is the information that is contained in the molecules. Okay? And molecules contain some biological activity. Let's say you have access to from all these databases, you have n number of phytochemicals, which we are going to go through that in detail in one of the as a use case. And these molecules may or may not have some properties. For example, some of the molecules, curcumin, let's say it has anti-cancer property. Correct? Let's say vithanolides, let's say they have anti-inflammatory property, right? So for a particular given, if you take even anti-inflammatory property per se, there might be n number of phytochemicals that is exhibiting anti-inflammatory property. This is the activity or the outcome. This is the structural information. How do you, molecules contain information and molecules exhibit some biological activity. How do you establish the relationship between these two is what machine learning algorithms and artificial intelligence do. So there are two routes when it comes to analyzing the data or building them when we talk about data. In the first phase, in the couple of slides now I'll introduce you to the idea of supervised and unsupervised machine learning models, how they can be employed. We'll take one or two cases, then we move on to advanced concept like agentic AI and how it can be employed in healthcare. There are two parts. One is supervised machine learning and unsupervised machine learning, and you have the data here. Let's take an example. Let's say you have input parameters, okay? Blood picture, for example, you have data on their HDL, LDL, cholesterol, FBS, TG, BMI, age, gender. These are all the parameters. Liver function test, albumin, bilirubin direct, GGT, SGOT, SGPT, all these parameters you have. And you have an outcome variable, let us say, whether that person developed a stroke or not. Now, based on the data that is given, let's say you are given data of about 10,000 people from India, their blood parameters and their clinical outcome. If you establish the relationship between these two, that is the model that you have developed. Based on the accuracy of the model, for the any other next test data that is coming, for any other next person that is coming, you will be able to predict whether that person develops stroke or not. This is called a supervised machine learning exercise, where you have a predictable variable in mind. Let's take another example which we did as I introduced. You have data on n number of people. You don't have any outcome variable. You just have all 60, 50, 100 blood parameters. Okay. Here the intention is not to predict something exactly, but you are going to classify the patients so that you can treat them separately. That is called unsupervised machine learning exercise. In case of chemicals, for example, you have n number of chemicals. By using machine learning algorithm that finds pattern, this will classify chemicals into different groups. Let's take an example from unsupervised machine learning model in the large-scale phytochemical classification. This is the, I took this as an example so that you all can connect. Imagine somebody gives data on 60,000 molecules with the structure like this, okay? You can't make out head and tail of it. Even if he is the best of the best chemist, you cannot go, one by one and say, okay, this molecule contains acetyl group, this molecule contains hydroxyl group, this molecule contains ketone group. How long you will keep doing this kind of an exercise? Okay? By applying proper analytic tools, you can transform the information that is contained here into numeric descriptors. For example, if a person comes in front of you, you can numerically describe him by, let's say, his height, weight, color, origin. All these parameters numerically define a person, right? Similarly, for these chemicals, you can numerically define the features of these chemicals, and based on that, you can classify these chemicals. What is the fun in classifying the chemicals? This is how it looks. Look, these chemicals were all over the place. You just simply had the information. Now when you do a proper classification using appropriate machine learning algorithms, you can cluster the molecules into different groups. In a medical case scenario, imagine a situation like this. You have 10,000 patients. You have their blood picture parameters. Okay? And now you, so to speak, you calculate the distance between two people. That means to say how similar this person is to this person. Imagine you classify the patients like this. This cluster represents one set of patient, this cluster represents another set of patient, so on and so forth. So what is the fun in this? You will realize you might realize the people belonging to this cluster behave physiologically different compared to people belonging to this group. And the treatment regimen changes, right? When you classify people in an intelligent manner like this. This is an example of how you can classify and study phytochemicals in patients. Let's take another example from a supervised machine learning algorithm. This data is publicly available again. Different molecules have been studied for tested for their taste. Okay? Some molecules are sweet, some molecules are bitter. If you see, these are the set of molecules which are sweet, these are the set of molecules which are bitter. What do you get out of this? Why are these molecules sweet? Why are these molecules bitter? Can you recognize any pattern like this? Humanly, it is not possible. Okay? By applying proper algorithms, you can develop a model which has an accuracy of about 90%, sensitivity of about 90%, specificity of about 90%, and with some 90% with certain confidence you can say this molecule is sweet, this molecule is bitter. Imagine a similar situation where you have patients, their blood picture and their outcome variables. For example, whether they developed stroke or they didn't develop stroke. Okay? When you develop a model, with certain confidence you can predict whether the person develops stroke or not. Okay? Till now what we covered so far is how to employ these algorithms in a very simple way to classify patients, to predict their outcome variables. That's how we did a small exercise like this. All of us have used generative AI platforms, right? These generative AI platforms that we generally use day in, day out, whether it is ChatGPT or any other platform, they are reactive in nature. Okay? That means you ask a question, it will reply. Okay? Then you refine your question, it will reply back. It goes on like this. Imagine a situation where a doctor sits in front of or a discovery scientist sits in front of a chatbot. He says, I am interested in diagnosing this patient, take these parameters, and it does it in a structured manner. For example, it visits the appropriate databases, appropriate websites, pulls out the information, does the diagnosis, throws out the information, and also it doesn't stop at that. It will tell you prescription, and this happens, let us say, in a very foolproof manner without drifting. This is a concept called agentic AI. On one side, this operates by a combination of generative AI and agents. Okay, on one side you have the generative AI, which has the power to reason, understand, and create. It is the heart, and it's the brain and the heart of it. On the other hand, you have agentic AI. It has the power to act, execute, and interact with the digital systems. For example, let's say you have connected it to your central medical database that you maintain in your college or the system. It automatically connects to that, pulls out the information, makes its own autonomous decisions, and provides suggestions for you. Let's take an example which all of us can connect. I have taken this example. Let's say we are working with enzyme ABC. Let's assume there is a hypothetical enzyme ABC. We are looking for inhibitors for this enzyme. Okay? How do you do that? Even employing, you do the literature survey. You can use generative AI platforms to pull out the information. You get very smart information. All that is fine. Okay? It will tell you something. However, we don't want to stop at this. We want to generate this as a workflow. Okay? Imagine you have enzyme ABC You visit the literature, you pull out, let us say, 100 to 500 plants. I am sure it's not possible. Maybe 10 to 15 plants which have inhibitory activity against this enzyme. Once again, you visit the literature, you pull out the phytochemical information through the second question. Then what do? For most of the researchers who are computational biologists, they take these phytochemicals, they do a primary round of docking, calculate the scores, and come back. And for conducting docking and these experiments, what you need is you need expertise. You need to know how to dock, how to prepare the protein, do all that. Instead of that, an expert sitting in front of let's say he develops a workflow, okay? By using the generative AI platforms, for example, Copilot, the goal can be decomposed like this. Your intention is to develop a high-level goal is to develop a novel inhibitor for the enzyme ABC from ginkgo biloba. First is you tell the agent the task is to search the literature for compounds present in ginkgo biloba. Task B is to run a virtual docking simulation for the compounds against enzyme ABC. Task C is to select the top binders and propose the synthetic pathways for this. You can also manually do this, but every time you have to prompt it with these questions and get the answers. You cannot link it to these tools, okay? Propose 3 top candidates. Then what it does is, then it goes back to PubMed, it visits all the chemistry literature, it does the Autodoc simulator with inputs, then it goes to all the chemistry journal, plans out a synthesis for you. Finally, it throws out initial synthesis, okay? It throws out 10 molecules. Let's say if you are a medicinal chemist, you want to synthesize, it will provide the synthesis routes. Let's take another example. The high-level goal here is to access the clinical relevance of genetic marker in a literature. Let's say you have a genetic marker, a mutation that you want to a particular marker you have in literature. Okay? This is the goal decomposition. First, you will set up the agent, a workflow in such a way, the task is to search the publications related to genetic marker. Then task B is to identify the studies reporting clinical associations and findings. Task C is to summarize and evaluate the collected evidences. So, how is it different from a general reactive tool? A general reactive tool, you ask the question, it will answer. You ask another question, it will answer. To simplify, a simplified overview of this is, instead of you manually every time asking and that giving answer, then once again you are prompting, you are embedding all these in the form of an agent where it automatically does the job, and your final goal is, it will tell you, okay, initial level finds that there is an association between this and this. Within one go you can prepare. Suppose you want to pull out a data from electronic health records, okay? You have, let's say, one patient coming in, okay? He has certain blood picture and he has a blood picture and he has certain disease condition. You want to understand why, what is the pattern? This pattern, if you want to compare it from your electronic health records, you can develop it in a agentic workflow where the agent itself visits your electronic health records, takes the data that you have for the patient, then it tells, okay, look, it matches with this patient, whatever, and then it pulls out the data for that patient which you have already treated, and it says, this is how you have treated the patient and this can be considered. So, these are all some of the things that we can adapt. My point here is, for adapting all this, of course, you need some basic understanding of machine learning and artificial intelligence. It has to be a collaboration between computational scientists, of course, domain experts like AYUSH doctors, medical professionals. Working together, these things can be easily set up as a workflow. And AI ML for medical and biological student, because many students keep asking, do I have to be an expert in programming languages? Keeping students in mind, I have made this. These are some of the questions that is, yeah, I mean, if you, programming languages is essential, but these days it doesn't take years together to learn the programming languages. If you are passionate about it, maybe in 3-4 months you can have a hang of it, just enough to deal with the algorithms that you are interested in. Do I have to be an expert statistician? Not necessarily, but you should have some understanding of statistics. I'm not so good in math. Can I still get into it? You can, but you cannot have a total disregard for math and do that. Where to start? The question is, first and foremost, we should come out of this inhibition that this is only something that is done by statisticians and computer scientists. You as domain experts in healthcare, you can start even today. All you need is some appreciation for the statistics, some knowledge of Excel sheet to begin with, so that you can extrapolate it to bigger platforms. I am a domain expert in, let's say, genetics, ecology, cell biology, biochemistry, whatever, basic science. Even basic science students can get into this. And of course, artificial intelligence we covered. The artificial intelligence is a broader term, which at the heart of it contains statistics and machine learning algorithms. So, this is a pun I always present. A big elephant, which is statistics, and a small snake, which is computer science, they once say, let's collaborate, and they agree to collaborate. The whole elephant is engulfed by this python, and that becomes a data scientist. So, at the heart of everything, the elephant is the statistics. Okay? When I say statistics, we don't have to be scared. Okay? All of you, most of us have done some basic course, some understanding of the statistics. So, if we can club these two, and we don't have to do that job, that is already clubbed and that is already present in the form of algorithms that we generally employ. Okay? And with that, I thank all of you. I thank Himalaya Wellness Company for giving me an opportunity, and I thank the organizers of AYUSH HAVVA for giving me an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And the learning. Chair and co-chair wish to comment anything or wish to share their views?
I would be happy to.
Namaste everyone. First of all, let me thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to chair this very useful, informative session. Let me personally congratulate and thank Dr. Raghavendra Rao sir for this beautiful, thought-provoking lecture, which was absolutely essential for AYUSH students, especially postgraduates. I don't know how many of them are here in the audience. Everyone has used AI in one or the other ways, but they may not be aware about that because we have not learned them in a systematic manner. And AI is gaining its popularity, and also it has brought about a paradigm shift in various fields across the globe, and healthcare is not an exception. And we have seen that when we talk about the medical science, from drug discovery itself, AI is being used nowadays. It may be identification of targets, target optimization, it may be preclinical study, pre-formulation, everywhere AI is playing its important role, including natural products, botanicals also. And after that, when you go to the diagnostics, especially imaging, wherever radiology is used, as sir has mentioned, when multiple data of blood investigations or symptom complexes are available with you, how to arrive at an accurate diagnosis, AI definitely helps. Another important area is the personalized medicine. Earlier we were thinking that it's only Ayurveda that speaks about personalized medicine, where dosham, dusham, desham, balam, kalam, alam, etc. are evaluated. But now specialized branch is developed on personalized medicine now, where AI tools are being used. Pharmacogenomics and genetics are becoming popular. Even in healthcare service also, in public domain, AI is useful. Because of all these reasons, our former president of Board of Ayurveda, Dr. B.S. Prasad, insisted us to incorporate this AI topic in PG syllabus. So being the chairperson of PG syllabus committee in Rashtra and Vaishya Kalpana, we incorporated it, AI and 3D printing in module 25. So I'm sure that this lecture is beginning to enlighten all of us. I request Dr. Raghavendra Rao to visit our institutions also and help us to learn more in this regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I purposely kept this very granular because I didn't want to give a high-level lecture of what AI can do, this can be done, that can be done. I just wanted to show some use cases so that you can all connect. Hope the message is conveyed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Satyanarayan, sir, for sharing your views as well. Now I request the chair and co-chair to join for the same. Audience, can I request you all a warm applause of clappings, please? Thank you, Dr. Raghavendra Rao, sir, for coming and sharing your views and experience with us. I request Dr. Keshav P. Sulya, sir, to kindly present a token of gratitude to our chairperson for today's session, Dr. Satyanarayan Bhatt, Principal, Munyal Institute of Ayurvedic Medical Sciences and Hospital, Manipal. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Satyanarayan, sir. I request our Dr. Keshav P.K. Sulya, sir, once again to present a token of gratitude to Dr. Sajid, Principal, Karnataka Ayurvedic Medical College and Hospital, Mangalore. Thank you, Dr. Keshav P.K. Sulya, sir. Thank you so much for the honor. Mr. Azim Syed Shiraz, CEO, Yenapoya Technology Incubator, Mangalore, from Yenapoya Deemed to University. Sir is sharing his views on a topic of AYUPROpreneurship. I repeat, AYUPROpreneurship. You must have heard entrepreneurship, and this is exactly what resonates with our title for the conference, AYUSH HAVVA, AYUPROpreneurship, Startups and Innovations in AYUSH. The session will be chaired by Dr. Prashant B.K., Principal, Prasanna College of Ayurveda and Hospital, Beltangadi, and co-chaired by Dr. Sushil Chetty from Principal, College, Alvas Ayurveda Medical College, Mudbadri, Mangalore. I request Dr. Ajay Bhatt, sir, to kindly escort the dignitaries to the dais. We welcome our speaker for session 3, Mr. Azim Syed Shiraz, sir, with the sapling. It's my honor and privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for this session, Mr. Azim Syed Shiraz. A special honor because sir belongs to Yenapoya Deemed to be University. Mr. Shiraz is a Chief Executive Officer of Yenapoya Technology Incubator, Mangalore, and an accomplished professional with over 13 years of experience in academic innovation, technology translation, and entrepreneurship development. He has been closely associated with higher education institutes and has played a significant role in bridging academic research with industry and clinical application, particularly in the domain of medical technology, biotechnology, and healthcare innovation. He currently leads multiple nationally funded initiatives supported by DBT, BIRAC, the Government of Karnataka, and the other central agencies, focusing on medical device development, regulatory compliant prototyping, and commercialization of university research outcomes. In addition, he serves as an in charge of the Office of Technology Commercialization at Yenapoya Deemed to be University, where he has strengthened institutional framework for intellectual property generation, technology transfer, and startup incubation. With a strong academic background in biomedical engineering and international training in healthcare innovation, Mr. Shiraz is also an inventor with several patents and publications to his credit. He is an active contributor to National Innovation Program. So we all are delighted to have your address at this academic gathering today, and I request all the gathering to join with me in welcoming Mr. Asim Syed Shiraz. Welcome you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you today about a term which is fast catching up in day-to-day practice, which is entrepreneurship. So I'm very happy and privileged to be here to share overall the experience of leading an incubator and then supporting and guiding a lot of startups. So it's a very interesting word, entrepreneurship. So Ayurveda, Ayush, so we have a lot of human-centric, people-centric practice which is there. A lot of tradition is there for centuries together with a lot of knowledge and wisdom, right? So it is focused on wellness, it's focused on overall well-being. And on the other side, we have something called as entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is something which we all talk about these days, right? So we are talking about, especially Shark Tank. Right? Everyone watches Shark Tank. You know what is funding, what is, like let's say, valuation, you know what is equity. So all these terms are very common these days. So the startup culture is very, very common these days. Our Ayurveda is not very, or Ayush is rather not very far behind. So the term entrepreneurship recognizes this and takes the science of life to science of scale. Because what you all do is you look at patients day to day, you try to solve their problems, you see how like a particular disease can be solved. You can see, you look at the wellness, you look at a lot of aspects about life, right? But what you do is you focus on patients who come to you, and you probably do teleconsultation. So your reach is limited, right? When you're looking at in traditional sense of practicing as a clinician, so you are able to do something for the patients who come to you, who are able to reach out to you, and then you have a limitation. So how many patients can you see per day? So can you see 50 patients per day? Can you see 100 patients per day? So what is that you can do? So that's something which is limiting factor with a traditional practice. So the idea here with entrepreneurship is to say that you can reach out to global audience, so, or global patients. You can try to solve the problems not only for the people who come to you, but rather you can build innovative products, you can build innovative solutions and services, and then you can scale it. So that's the entire idea here of the term entrepreneurship. And then this is fast catching up with a lot of people trying to start their own companies. So we'll just see some of the examples what we do here. So basically, this is all to do with the shift which has been happening, right? So traditionally, we look at people who fall sick, they come to a doctor, they try to cure their disease, right? But what we have these days is people trying to have a holistic approach towards their wellness. They are trying to look at fortifying their, let's say, maybe nutrition, so improving their lifestyle, maybe incorporating yoga, having healthy food, right? So there has been a lot of shift, change in consumer psychology. So there has been like a lot of investments which are been coming for these startups which are trying to do something natural, right? So we are all trying to reject. We don't want to take something like a lot of people don't want to consume certain products thinking that there are hormones in that, residual hormones, there are chemicals, there are harmful, let's say toxic compounds, right? So there has been a shift which has been happening, especially post-pandemic, wherein people want to look at their wellness. So they want to focus on like having products which are free from harmful chemicals. So even to an extent that not only the food items which we consume, so everyone wants to have like probably your shampoos and then different products which are free from harmful chemicals. And then you want to know what is in your product, right? So you don't want it to be a mystery anymore. So there has been a lot of movements like Label Padega India, right? So that's a movement which is there by Minister of Consumer Affairs, which is trying to educate people also to look at what is in your product, right? So all these kind of, like, let's say, trends are there which are making people go towards Ayurveda, go towards yoga, go towards the entire Ayush disciplines, right? So towards, earlier it used to be like let's say somebody suffering from a disease which is not curable. So somebody's, like, let's say has a cancer or certain long-term chronic illness. So they go to a doctor of allopathy. So let's say they don't find a cure, then they used to come to Ayurveda in a like, let's say certain setting. But now, irrespective of where they are in the country or globally, so everyone is looking at Ayush as one of the first options. So that's what has happened post-pandemic, right? So this is something which is a perfect storm wherein we can encash on developing solutions, we can encash on building businesses, we can encash on starting your like innovative companies which can ride the wave which is in the market right now. So the market, just to tell you the statistics, so it's a 4.5 trillion economy globally, which in India is growing at a rate of 16%, more than 16%. That's a very good rate of growth year on year. So the economy is growing by 16%. And Government of India is also taking up a lot of initiatives to export the Ayush, like, let's say, products, services, and brands globally. So we have around 900 plus startups which are recognized by Startup India. So I'll talk a bit about Startup India, but this is a very good number. Having 900 startups in a very short time which are recognized, which are, like, let's say, certified as startups, that's something which is there. So there is a lot of opportunity there. So traditionally, there are a lot of challenges which has limited the growth of the field, which has limited the adoption of different technologies and services which are there. So I'll just highlight on one such a problem. So technically, there is if you are, like, let's say, Ayurveda practitioner, so you want to source certain herbs, you want to source certain raw materials. So there is always a deficiency of, like, let's say, trust, wherein you don't know if whatever you are sourcing has been stored properly. Whatever you are sourcing, is it authentic or not? Whether, like, let's say, where was it grown? So all these used to be a challenge. And especially this is something which is very, very important in global market. So when you want to send a product, like, let's say, you have a tea with ashwagandha, let's say, or you have a product which is having Ayurvedic component or any other component. So globally, people would want to know where has this particular raw material been sourced from. So all these were challenges. But thanks to technologies such as AI and blockchain, so especially blockchain here, it solves a lot of problems here. So it tries to give you technologies and tools with which you can have traceability. So I'm not sure how many of you know blockchain. So blockchain is a technology which is a backbone of cryptocurrency. So blockchain is something which is not fudgeable. So you cannot modify the records, right? So having such kind of technologies, and then if you just say that I'm going to build a business which is going to only supply raw materials with the blockchain, so that the moment you scan a barcode, QR code, you are able to know where has this product been sourced from, and how was it stored, how has it been transported, what is the quality of the soil, what is the soil analysis, everything you could have on an app which can be verified by anyone globally. So this is something which was very difficult earlier, to know the authenticity of whatever you're doing, right? So thanks to something like blockchain, you can do all these things. There are a lot of areas, I need not talk about the areas, so there are a lot of problem areas which are there, especially for elderly, for like newborn, for mental wellness. So there are a lot of, like, let's say, areas which require solutions, wherein people, the consumers, are willing to go for AYUSH solution, right? So you can identify, you can look around yourself and then see what are the problems which are there. For example, there are a lot of, like, let's say, women who have like a thyroid deficiency, right? So there are it's a condition wherein you need to keep on having medication for lifelong, like for the thyroid replacement, if you go with allopathy. But there have been a lot of incidences and cases with Ayurvedic medicine and Unani medicine and all, wherein you are able to cure the condition, reverse the condition. So there are a lot of things. So our youngsters and the people, the consumers are willing to give it a shot to try natural remedies, natural solutions. So you can just look at all these problems and then see what you can do. So, but when you're trying to develop a solution for you to start a company, so what do we think of when you want to develop a solution? We always think of whether, like, let's say, whatever you're going to develop, is it going to be groundbreaking? Is it going to be an invention or innovation? So just to demystify invention versus innovation. So invention is something which you, like a light bulb, right? So which you discover for the first time, or which you come up with for the first time, which is groundbreaking, right? Innovation is something which makes use of inventions and then tries to add value, tries to improve the reach, tries to take it to the masses. So that's what innovation is. For example, there have been a lot of drugs, if you are able to, like, let's say, come up with a very novel formulation which is not described in your text, traditional knowledge, and say that this is a very unique combination which I have come up with for, let's say, for cancer, for any disease. So then in that case, that's an invention. But if you are trying to take any molecule or any known formulations which are there in your text and say that I'm going to improve its bioavailability. For example, curcumin, so turmeric, they say it's very difficult to absorb, right? So a lot of people have tried to do nano formulations of curcumin. And there are a lot of, like, let's say, drugs which people have tried to encapsulate with nano formulations and then try to develop novel, like, let's say, drug delivery methods. So all these are innovations which still have a lot of meaning, which still have a lot of value. So if you are able to identify a right, like, let's say, use case for an invention, it can create a ripple which is going to change a lot of things. So the question is, why do you have to innovate? Why do you want to start a company? Why do you want to become an entrepreneur? So why can't you just do traditionally whatever you're doing? So there are a lot of reasons. So different people have their own reasons to do, right? So for some, it would be just a pursuit of doing something innovative. So you want to do something very, very innovative. You want to be known. You want to be, like, let's say, a lot of inventors are known, right? So somebody, like, for example, Thomas Alva Edison invented a light bulb. That's too much. But still, if you want to say that, you may want to be known that you are the one who has the best formulation for a particular disease, or you have a best medicine for a certain thing, or you may have a best therapy, or whatever it is. You may want to do make a name for yourself, right? So for some, it's purely pursuit of innovative ideas. So for some other, it's like trying to solve unmet needs which are there. So there are a lot of diseases, there are a lot of problems. So you just want to do something which is useful, which is impactful, which is creating social impact, right? For others, it's about making more money. So for example, if you are just going to practice in a traditional sense, so as I said, your reach is limited by the number of patients you can see, probably. So, but whereas if you are able to innovate, you are able to develop a company, you are able to make a product, so you could scale exponentially. You could probably employ a lot of people. Like, let's say you have a very nice, like, let's say, herbal formulation. You could make it, mass produce it, you can sell globally wherever you want to sell it, right? So that's something which is very much possible. So you have to find the reason, but you need to have a reason. It's not like my parents told me to join this course, I have joined. Entrepreneurship cannot be like that. So you need to think what motivates you, what drives you. So this is typically an entrepreneurial mindset. So you need to have purpose and passion. So you need to be able to develop a product. You should be able to validate a product, and then you should have a risk-taking ability to say that I'm going to launch it to the market. I'm going to let anybody copy my product, but I'm sure that I'm going to scale. My product will be the best product, or my service will be the best service with respect to whatever is there in the market. So if you need to have a very resilient mindset to be able to succeed as an entrepreneur. All these things are not very difficult. So they are all, like let's say, something which you can condition yourself. You can learn from the experts, learn from the people who have failed, who have passed. Majorly, first you have to know from the people who have failed. So how can you build a successful business, right? So that's something. So when you want to build a product, when you want to go to market, so these are some of the key components which you would have to focus on. So for the first thing, as we discussed, you need to know what is the problem you're trying to solve. That's something which is very, very important, right? You can't be like a toddler who's crying for no reason, right? So you should know what problem you're really trying to solve. Is it really a problem, or have you just manifested the problem? So, and what is the solution, let's say, which you are going to develop? Does this solution really work for the problem which you are trying to solve? And then I'll talk about IP. You need to have a good team with you. You need to have patents. You need to have a business strategy. You need to have target market, more importantly, right? So if there is no market, let's say you make a product which has a very low margin, but there is no scale. You just have 100 people suffering from the particular condition. So if you have 100 users and then you're making, let's say, probably 100 rupees per, let's say, user, so there is no point in, let's say, doing something like that, right? So entrepreneurship is all about scale. How can you scale? How can you achieve a lot of profits? And how, at the same time, how can you make an impact? So for all this, funding is very, very important. We'll talk about that. So once you know what is the problem you're trying to solve, what is the solution in mind, and then you have everything, so you do start something called as startup. So this is what is startup in India. So in India, anything which is less than 10 years, that is one condition. You should not be more than 10-year-old company, and you should have a company which is registered as a private limited or LLP, or partnership is also okay, but mostly LLP and private limited. And the annual turnover should be less than 100 crores. So this is as per the definition given by Startup India. So you may be seeing a lot of companies which are into food delivery, which are doing they are about to go public, but you'd be seeing that they are still called a startup. That is because they fall under 100 crore turnover per year, per financial year category. And most importantly, whatever you are trying to do should be scalable, should have potential for generating jobs, employment, and it should be innovative idea. It cannot be a traditional business. So that's what startup is. So why this is very important to know what is startup is because once you qualify as a startup, there are a lot of funds which are available by Government of India, Government of Karnataka, and various other governments. So which only fund if you are a startup. They don't fund you if you are a traditional business. So that's why. So let's say you think of starting a company. Typically, you'd be starting something called as I said, private limited company, which can have 2 members, 2 directors, and it can have as many as 200, but nobody generally would have 200 directors. So then there is something called as a one-person company, which is a private limited company with 1 director and LLP. So there are a lot of different ways, and for some reasons, you may be thinking, so this is something which I see with everyone. Whoever wants to start a company would be thinking, should I go for a private limited company or should I go for a LLP? So this is a common question. So generally what we discuss is if you want to have equity. So shareholding pattern is there in private limited company. Let's say tomorrow you want to raise investment. You have a friend who's ready to give you maybe 10 lakh rupees to begin with, or you have an investor who's ready to fund you 50 lakh rupees, 1 crore rupees, whatever it is. So you can't just add them as a partner in a LLP, right? So for such cases in private limited, what you do is you can say that my valuation is 100 crores, and then if you invest 1 crore, I'm going to give you 1% of my company. So it becomes easier when you have a private limited company with equity, with valuations and etc., right? And once you start a company, you could be doing a lot of things, lot of ways you could be reaching out to market. So these are standard ways you reach to the market, wherein you can be B2B, which is business to business. You are a business, you start a company, you can say that my customers or my target audience are businesses only. You can say that I am going to only sell it to hospitals. I'm only going to sell it to, like let's say, clinics. I'm only going to sell it to government. So like you can have a business model, right? And then B2C, which is business to customer, which is a traditional way of selling anything. So for example, if you want to buy a bottle of water, so what you do, or you want to buy a Coke, or you want to buy any particular product, so a manufacturer would manufacture it and would give it to a wholesaler, or then it goes to retailer, or it goes to a marketplace like Amazon, Flipkart, whatever it is. So that is called as B2C. So business is selling not to businesses, but they are selling to customers. So they are the end users of a particular product, but it goes through different channels. So this is where a lot of Ayush brands have now come up by saying that we don't want to sell on Amazon, we don't want to go through distributors, because we know it's very difficult. When you want to approach a distributor, let's say for Dakshina Kannada, you want to go to a distributor to sell your medicine. So that depends on a lot of, like let's say, factors, right? So whether do you have a reputation? So if you are a new company, the distributor may not accept your product at all, right? So they may not want to buy your product or sell your product. So, or distribute your product rather. So that's where people have come up with, a lot of businesses have come up with D2C, which is direct to customer. So that is a sub-segment of B2C. In direct to customer, what you do is, there are a lot of Ayush brands which are there, or like Ayurveda, like wellness brands and all, which have made their own websites. So they hire good influencers on Instagram, etc. So they make a product within their facilities or get it manufactured elsewhere, and then they list it on their website and then they sell it directly. So that is D2C. And marketplace is something wherein, like let's say, customers interact with customers. So that's something which is there. This is some very interesting area in terms of marketplace. Ministry of Ayush is trying to build marketplace for Ayush products. So that's something where you can expect a lot of developments, and it's going to be a game changer if you are going to start a product. So yeah, software as a service is something which is there, which you know, completion sake. But when you are doing all this, you need to know what is IP. I'll just briefly talk about intellectual property. So IP, right? A lot of us probably might be aware of IP. A lot of people have applied for, like let's say, when you say IP, a lot of people will say that I have applied for a patent. So patent is a subset of IP. So as you can see on the image there, IP is not very, very different to a commercial property or residential property, whatever you have, right? It's something which is very similar with respect to the rules and laws. It is a result of intellectual effort wherein you are able to use your brain, think of something better, solve a particular problem. So that's what you're trying to do. So as any property, intellectual property, IP can be bought, sold, leased, transferred, whatever it is. And if somebody is infringing upon it, if somebody is trying to copy your IP, you can file a case against them, you can prosecute them. So all such things are possible. So the moment you equate IP, intellectual property, with the property which you know, then it's very easy to understand what IP is, because a lot of people have doubts with respect to IP, right? So I'll not elaborate that, but please know that the framework, the rules are similar. IP need to be enforced. So there are different types of IP. So these are the common ones which we come across. As I said, patent is something which we talk about in commonly as IP. So patent is specifically something which is given for a novel formulation or a composition, or it is given for a process. So let's say, for example, there are traditionally a lot of processes which are there to probably make a particular formulation of a drug. But they may be resulting in lower shelf life, or they may be resulting in expensive, like let's say the process may be expensive. So if you are able to come up with a better process of preparing a particular drug or a formulation, so then you can file for a patent there. It's a process patent. Okay, so that's something which you should keep your eye open on what you are doing, because in Ayush, generally, like, you have a lot of traditional knowledge which is there, which it becomes very, very difficult for you to think out of, like, let's say, whatever the literature says, right? So, but at the same time, a lot of, like, let's say, people I interact with, they often overlook the intellectual efforts they might have put to improve the process of producing a particular drug, right? So that's a process patent. And then you can think of a composition. So there are a lot of like different herbs which are there. If you are able to create a composition which is not generally known, which is not publicly known or not in your literature, you can create a patent for a composition. So we have worked with a lot of people from Ayurveda who have filed patents for compositions and then processes. It's not very difficult. You will have to have a discussion with somebody who is going to file your patent. You need to brainstorm, you need to involve a lot of people, and then it's very easy. So specifically with respect to patent, so these are the three things which are very important. On the right side, as you can see, utility, it should have a use, it should be novel, and it should be non-obvious. So this is where a lot of people get confused between novelty and non-obviousness or inventive step. So novel is something which is very, very new. So does novel mean inventive? It is not. Invention is something else. So a non-obviousness is invention, inventive step. For example, if you look at any unique combination, so let's say for the very first time, all of you are sitting here as an audience. So this is a novel, I would say, arrangement. This has never been done before. Exact same people have not sat in the exact seats and then I have not stood here and then spoken. But is it inventive? It's not inventive. So this is well known. So before me, there was a speaker who was talking. So a lot of events happen wherein you have people sitting, listening. So that's not inventive. So that is where we need to focus on. What is the inventive step you are doing? So most of us get stuck on novelty. So you can, like, let's say, discuss on specifically how your particular patent is non-obvious, how it is inventive, right? So if you are able to understand that, if you are able to put it out in the right way, you'd be able to definitely secure a patent granted in your name. And then trademark is something which a lot of people generally overlook. Trademark is something which is very important. For example, you build a brand, trademark protects your brand, right? The way your logo is, the color, the packaging, everything. So whenever you're starting something new, it's very, very important to go for a trademark to ensure to protect your logo, protect your company name, etc. So that's something, trademark. And then designs are your packaging designs. If you're able to make a new package, or if you're able to make a new instrument with a unique design, but it is already well known. So in such cases, you can go for a design application, so design patent. GI, geographical indicator, is something which protects a particular type of product which is produced in a specific region. It could be a type of herb, or it could be a type of sari, or whatever it is which is being produced in a particular region. You can apply for a GI, which protects the interest of the local community so that nobody else can copy that, nobody else can produce that particular product. So that's GI. And then there are plant variety protections also for a particular variety. That's generally for crops wherein a unique breed of, let's say, mangoes, potatoes, and also people protect with the plant variety protection. So this was not there in India for a few years. We have again gone back to the global framework of recognizing plant variety protection. So that's there. And most importantly, trade secret. Trade secret works best of all these things, because all IP which you see there has a life. if you want a protection for your copyright or your patent, trademark and all, you need to, patent specifically, you need to disclose to the government. You need to say, what is your patent exactly? How is it novel? How can it work? How is it inventive, etc. Right? If you tell it to the government, then they will say that, okay, for 20 years, you have monopoly. For 20 years, we will ensure that your rights are protected. Nobody else can copy your invention for 20 years. That's what happens. So that is where Indian pharma, like let's say, market is. So a lot of like pharma companies in US and all, they do a lot of R&D, they file patents. The moment patent is expiring, we have a lot of generics coming out. So that's because of the 20-year window of a patent. Trade secret is something which is well known in like a lot of Ayurveda families as well, like very, like let's say, common example. Especially, everyone gives an example of, like let's say, secret recipe, right? So trade secret has no legal framework. It means that you should just keep it as a secret. You should not disclose. If you disclose, it's gone. So in many of the, like let's say, formulations now, as I said in the beginning, so everyone is demanding to know what is in your product. So they want to know the clear label, right? So it's very, very difficult to go for trade secrets if you want to sell globally, if you want to scale your product to the masses. So that's where you should be able to think of how you can innovate, how you can come up with a patent. So again, these are just some of the areas you, like let's say, you think in different angles, you think in different dimensions, how you can get your ideas, where are, like let's say, you can innovate. For example, we had a speaker talking about AI, right? So, but we don't have records. Like let's say, if you are not able to keep records, you cannot use newer technologies like AI to come up with better, like let's say, treatment, better, like let's say, evidence for a particular, like let's say, product or your solution, right? So so this is something like additional in nutraceuticals. So this is the trend. So these are the trending things, right? So people are looking at protein bars. So there are a lot of new brands which have come, which are on millets, which are, like let's say, using natural ingredients. So they classify themselves as food product. So they fall under FSSAI. They don't have a therapeutic claim. So you are able to push a lot of products through nutraceuticals through FSSAI, right? So that's something you can think of. And cosmetics, of course, this is under CDSCO, wherein if you are able to, like let's say, come with products. So there are a lot of products which are there for anti-aging, anti-hair fall, etc. Right? So how your product can be different, how you can make something which is unique, right? So if you can think of all these areas, you can definitely, like let's say, have a business which can be scalable. Especially with IoTech, so this is something which is there, as we discussed, big data. So if you digitize your records, if you digitize your, let's say, case notes, for example, so you are giving a particular treatment, particular herb to maybe 100 different patients. So if you are able to document everything, if you are able to say what were the probably, like let's say, outcomes in each case, you can use like let's say data analytics, AI, big data and all to improve things, right? So that's there. So we have a lot of AI-based diagnostics also, which are like a lot of companies are there which are working on it. So what is happening is most of the startups these days are thinking of how you can reach out to global audience first. So these are just some of the 3 examples which have built their businesses from India, targeting not for Indian audience, they target global audience. So especially, like let's say, for example, for yoga, so there are like a lot of businesses which are there. People have started as a personal trainers, but there are a lot of businesses which have come which don't cater to Indian use consumers at all. They global first, and once they are popular globally, then they probably focus on Indian market. So there are a lot of things. So there are, like let's say, a lot of ways wherein you can just change the formulation. You can just change the like let's say, format you give a particular like let's say, product. For example, gummies is something which is very, very common now. So you go anywhere to a pharma company or to a like GMP AYUSH based company. So everyone would want to make a gummy of a product which is already there, because this is something which is very, very common among the younger, like let's say, users these days, and it's convenient. It improves your reach to the market, right? So you can think of these kind of solutions, just tweak whatever you have, and you have something which is going to transform the market. And this is something which is just 2 days old, 3 days old rather, 27th. So there was a MOU with Zepto, wherein with Zepto 10-minute delivery, all the AYUSH products, certified AYUSH products can be delivered throughout the country. So wherever Zepto is, Zepto has signed this agreement. So it's something which is great, right? So for example, you have a headache. So what do you do generally? So you think, shall I take this medicine or not? Because you may not have, I mean, as a general user I'm talking about, may not have an Ayurvedic product which is available with them, right? With Zepto, easy. So all your products can be easily delivered, and they are ensuring, they have taken an undertaking that they will ensure all the products are authentic. They are AQM, right? So I mean, you have certified products which are being sold, and then they want to prioritize on MSMEs, which means smaller businesses which have started. So let's say tomorrow you want to start a company, you want to build a product, you can easily onboard. I mean, if you are certified product, so you can easily onboard with Zepto if it is there, and then you can start reaching out to the customers all over the country. So they just need to buy your product, stock it in the warehouse, and then in 10 minutes it reaches everywhere, right? So please be aware and then look out for opportunities such as this. So this is a really good time to start your own brand and then start selling products and having a company. So yeah, just another thing is, like, there is a lot of IP which is there, and there are a lot of students who are doing thesis. They are developing a lot of like, let's say, products, and they have done a lot of hard work in producing their thesis. So see if any of it is, if it is not public, can you get an IP out of it? So we are all talking in universities that how can you convert thesis to publication, right? So don't think of stop at publication. See if there is any IP there. See if you can give that topic to the next student who's coming. Can you improve it further? Can there be a product which is going to come out of this particular, like, let's say, work which you are going to give it to your next student, right? And of course, so you can try to mentor and then guide students to start their companies rather than try to look for jobs. So that's something which you can do. Again, no offense to anyone, but instead of linear growth, you can start looking at exponential growth. It's very, very important, no disregard, as I said. But if you are able to come up with something, if you are able to amplify whatever good work you are doing through a business, see how you can reach out to a lot of, like, let's say, patients globally, by maybe telemedicine or whatever forms, it's going to really transform your life and then life of, like, let's say, others who work with you. So again, not going into details, you need to be aware of frameworks such as technology readiness level. So this is something which is very important. No matter which funding agency you apply to or which investor you go to, they will ask what is the technology readiness level you are at. So it's simple, like TRL 1 to 3 is research always, wherein you'll be working in your lab, and then TRL 4 to 7, 6 until 6, which is 7, is your validation, wherein you develop a prototype, you validate, and then 7 to 9 is where you go to market. So that's something which you should know what is the path you are taking. And if you are able to take a particular path, if you are able to, like, let's say, do, like, let's say, trials, and then you say that I have reached till TRL 4, please help. So you can look for collaborators, you can look for incubators, you can look for industry to help you with developing things further. So this is something which is very important, technology readiness levels. And always keep in mind that your work is not repetitive, it's not wasted. GXP, which is all sort of like good practices, ensure that they are incorporated from the beginning. For example, good documentation practice from the day you are doing your trials, from the day you are trying to come up with particular invention or formulation, GMP, and etc. of course. And there are a lot of frameworks which are there. It's a great time now. So you have Ayush Grid, you have like let's say e-Aushadhi, so there are a lot of initiatives which are there, which are going to really help the businesses not only deliver their product in India or services in India, but scale globally. So look into these things, and then of course you have regulatory bodies such as FSCI, Ministry of Ayush, CDSCO, etc. And funding is available at every stage. You should just know where to look for. Starting from ideation till scaling, there is funding which is available. Right, so you need to know which who you should reach out to, what you can, like let's say, propose with respect to what is the uniqueness of your product, your solution, how it is different, what is the scale you are going to do or reach, and then what is the value proposition for the funder who is going to fund you. For example, if you are looking at government funding, what do they want? So they would want you to probably develop something as a product, as a service, go out to the market, employ more people. So they want employment generation, they want publications, they want patents, etc. Right? Whereas when you go to an angel investor or a venture capitalist, they would want returns, right? So they would want, they say, I'm going to give you 1 lakh rupees today, can you give me 1 crore tomorrow? I mean, not tomorrow exactly, they will ask for tomorrow, but if you are able to say that in 5 years, this is a trajectory of growth which I'm going to have, so then definitely you'd be able to get funding. So just to tell you basically like a bit of background of what we do. So this is the incubator which I head and run in NFI, which is supported by Government of India, different ministries of Government of India, and then recently Government of Karnataka. We are focusing on different like healthcare solutions. When I say healthcare solutions, it's for all the domains. So we are not focusing on only allopathy. So it's Ayurveda and etc. So we have a team of people who develop products who are able to help you with, like let's say, developing solutions and like let's say different like let's say networking opportunities and all are there. So this is what we have with us. I mean, most of it may not be relevant to you, but specifically we have clean rooms which are class 1000 clean room and 10,000 clean room, which is CDSCO certified for class C medical devices, and also like a lot of Ayurvedic formulations which are being applied to CDSCO for like different therapeutic claims. So this is what we do. And so just to tell you that we were awarded also Best Incubation Center among Tier 2 cities by Department of Biotechnology. So the reason why I'm putting this is not to boast, but to say that our dream is to say that we want to be also recognized by Ministry of Ayush. So we are happy to work with all. So we collaborate. We are happy to, like let's say, support with anything which you may have. So for that you need not incubate. So we believe in like ensuring that everyone grows together. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Asim, for a wonderful insight into entrepreneurship. I feel this is very much needed for all the doctors sitting here, for all the postgraduates and doctors sitting here. We may not understand fully the importance of entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship till we go into business field. Where we lack today is the sense of business amongst students or amongst doctors. We feel that it is not our field, business is not our cup of tea, and many of the bureaucracy what we have sometimes, or many of the difficulties what we have heard in business may sometimes take a back step in promoting entrepreneurship in today's generation, especially doctors or Ayurveda doctors. But having said that, your insight has given a positive feedback to the students, and the center being in our own region will certainly help in fostering ideas for young minds in developing new ideas. Ideas can come from anywhere. Any small idea, you never know, can grow into a big business model tomorrow. So hopefully the young doctors sitting here or anyone who is having a little interest in the business can take the help of Yenapaya Center and further guidance from them. And also with the government in each academic institution for Ayurveda, they have created something called as Entrepreneurship Development Cell, EDC, what many of us have not taken it seriously. So, and also with the government promoting new jobs, encouraging new business, and with today's hackathons, etc., I am sure in days to come we can certainly promote entrepreneurship with the guidance of the centers also. With this, I once again thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity and selecting a topic which is relevant for today's generation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Asim Syed Shirad, sir, on strategic integration of Ayush for teaching us what is the need of the hour, that is to become an innovator. What I'll achieve to become an innovator, I'll achieve a path of exponential growth. And how I'll achieve, sir clearly mentioned, with the entrepreneurial mindset. Thank you, sir, for your insights. Now I request Dr. Sachin Nadaka, sir, Organizing Secretary, AYUSH HAVVA 2026, on behalf of Organizing Committee, kindly present a token of gratitude to Mr. Asim Syed Shirad, sir. Requesting audience to kindly acknowledge with a round of applause. Requesting Dr. Sachin Nadaka, sir, to present a token of gratitude to our chairperson for today's session, Dr. Prashant B.K., sir, Principal, Prasanna College of Ayurveda and Hospital, Beltangadi. Once again, requesting Dr. Sachin Nadaka, sir, to present a token of gratitude to our co-chairperson, Dr. Sushil Shetty, Principal, Alvaz Medical College, Ayurveda Medical College and Hospital, Mudbadri, Mangalore. Thank you, Dr. Sachin, sir, and thank you to our speaker, chairperson and co-chairperson. So here we come to an end or culmination of the day one scientific session. Thank you, audience.
ಆತ್ಮೀಯವಾದಂತಹ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸುತ್ತಾ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬ ಸಮಿತಿಯ ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಇವರನ್ನು ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ಬೆಳೆಯಲಿ ಎಂಬ ದ್ಯೋತಕವಾಗಿ ಔಷಧೀಯ ಗಿಡಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬಕ್ಕೆ ಶುಭಾಶಂಸನೆಗಳನ್ನು ನೀಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸದರು ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಶುಭಾಶಯದ ಮಾತು.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬ 2026 ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದೇ ನಮಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಸಂತೋಷ ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಸಂಗತಿ. ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜೀವನ ಕ್ರಮ, ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜೀವನ ಪದ್ಧತಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಇವತ್ತು ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬವನ್ನು ನೋಡುವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಮುಖಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಬದುಕಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಏನೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಈ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಕಾಣಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ, ಅನುಭವಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ನನಗೂ ಸಂಸದ್ನಾದ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬಕ್ಕೆ ಆಮಂತ್ರಣ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಆ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೇನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ ಅನ್ಫಾರ್ಚುನೇಟ್ಲಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮಗೂ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳು ಸಿಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನನ್ನಂಥ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ಯುವಕರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುವಂಥ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲವೋ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಆದರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಬಂದ ನಂತರ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೋ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್, ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಇಲ್ಲದ ಸಂಗತಿಗಳೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನೋ ವಂಡರ್ ಅವರ್ ಸಿವಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟು ಗ್ರೇಟ್. ನೋ ವಂಡರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸಿವಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಎ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಟು ಡೆಲಿವರ್ ಟು ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿರಿಯರು ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಈ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಿವಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಇದೆ, ಇಡೀ ವಿಶ್ವದ ಶಾಂತಿ ಸಹಬಾಳ್ವೆಯನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಅಂಥ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ ಸಿವಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ನ ವಾರಸುದಾರರು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ನೆನಪಿಸುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಅಪರೂಪದ ಹಬ್ಬ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬ ಅಂತ ನಾನಂತೂ ಖಂಡಿತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ವೈಭವದಿಂದ ಇದು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನ ರೀತಿ ಬೇರೆಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ನಡೆಯುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ತಿಳಿಸಿದರು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸುಂದರವಾಗಿ ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಘನತೆಗೆ ತಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ, ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಮಣ್ಣಿನ ಅಸ್ಮಿತೆಗೆ ತಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ ಈ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬವನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಆಯೋಜಕರಿಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಲೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನಲ್ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್, ಲೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಫಾರ್ ವೆಲ್ನೆಸ್, ಲೆಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಮ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಆರ್ ಸಿವಿಲೈಸೇಷನಲ್ ಇಥೋಸ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಹಾರೈಕೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಶುಭವನ್ನು ಹಾರೈಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಶುಭ ಹಾರೈಸಿ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್. ಸ್ಮರಣಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನೀಡಿ ಗೌರವಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಆಯುಷ್ ಹಬ್ಬ ಸಮಿತಿಯ ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಿನಂತಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ.